get Twitter stuff sent out. Get our bots in here. And get the Discord sent off. Alright, I think we're good. So, hello everyone, this is Chris Ingerson, and it is April 19th, and this is the April 19th TextQuest Devstream. So, today, before I forget, I'm going to walk on screen. We're going to be also, I think, mostly coding today again. Anyway, today we're going to be continuing our work on the combat system refactor. Specifically, we are going to start off with attack criteria. Now, this is sort of a concept that we have right now, but we're kind of going to be expanding on this idea. So, for example, I'm going to select. Here we are. So we have this concept of criteria for an attack label, and we can set it to be equal to, say, it does not like that. It is super wide. Okay, that's not awkward at all. Well, anyway, so we can do things like check the session database to see what you've done. So like if you've burned something or if you've picked up a specific item, we can check to see that that is true. And then if it's false, we can hide that label so you don't see it at all. And if it's true, we'll show it. But I need to actually come up with criteria for false choices, which are choices that will immediately cause you to lose combat, and it'll just knock you back to the idle area. Hello, Paul. Welcome back. How are you doing today? So we have criteria currently that basically lets us show or hide labels, but we also need to set up criteria to allow us to make a label a false choice. I really wish I had a better term for that, but essentially a choice that is something that you will immediately fail. Basically, it's the wrong choice. Good. Hope things are going well. Well, I hope they're going well too. We'll see how. Like I always say, we'll see how the dev stream goes. Anyway, let's go ahead and open up our script. Drag this off to the side. All right. So I was thinking this through yesterday, trying to figure out what the best way to approach this would be. And I think we're going to have to come up with a fairly complicated class that will have a multitude of possible criteria that it can handle. So you can see I have a bunch of comments here, sort of lining out my process. So we'll need, of course, it'll have to be a list of criteria. And that criteria needs to be able to handle session data. It needs to be handle stance and phase data. So if for example, the troll is in a specific phase and if it's in a specific stance, and then specific information for what you have equipped. So it's kind of annoying, but we're probably basically just going to replace the current criteria system with this more in-depth system that will let us say if it's valid, a false choice. I need to come up with a better name, or if it's not going to show up at all. And we're going to have to work from there. So I'm going to go ahead and, I'm actually going to rename this. Let's rename this to criteria collection because I want to have a data class called criteria. Nope, it did not like that. All right. Okay, that's fun. Yeah, and there's a fair amount of stuff that I was handling yesterday, so we're probably going to have a little bit of, or quite a few comments that are kind of just like blocking out large chunks of code for the time being. I guess I should actually go ahead and show you where I am currently. I was messing around with battle introductions and actually hooking into the UI yesterday, and it kind of works in the sense that we can actually get from the initial start of the battle up to a combat phase, but then after that we don't have anything functioning yet. So this is what it currently looks like. really should have maximized on play, but I didn't. But now I will. All right. You can see that we get our fade in, then we get our labels showing up again. We have our options as always, and we can type in the battle. Oh, that's interesting. It didn't close this. It should have closed this. Oh well. Okay. So I'm terrible enough at my own combat system that I can't actually get through it. But that's currently where we are. I was getting that stuff set up yesterday, trying to get the UI to work with it. Anyway, let's go ahead and open the script up again. Okay. I'm also going to go ahead and create a C# script. We're going to call this combat attack criteria. All right, and we are also going to need an editor folder because we're going to have a property drawer for this. Assuming that it lets me, which it may not. But yeah, since we want this data class to be able to handle 3 different possible types of data, we need to be able to freely swap between those and have it be conveniently conveyed which one is actually being used. So we're going to go ahead and create. We're going to call this combat attack criteria drawer. And we're not actually going to do anything with this script yet, but I want to have it be available so that I can start working on it once we're done. All right, let's go ahead and open up criteria. Oh, you're no fun. Froze. I shouldn't be surprised. All right, so textquest.combat. Let's go ahead and get that. This is going to say using Unity engine. Oh, not engine, editor. This is going to be a property drawer. And then that's all we're going to do for that for now. All right. So this is going to be in the TextQuest namespace, .combat. It is not going to be a mono behavior. It is going to be a serialized, no, not that. System.serializable. It's a serialized class. And we're going to need a couple of things. So, okay, how do I want to handle this? Well, first off, I guess we're going to want to go ahead and pull up, I think it's combat stance? No. Combat action, is that what I called it? Nope. Okay. Oh, yeah, no, it is. Combat action, totally is. All right, we're going to go to, data ID value. So we're going to need one data ID value, one, so we're going to say public data ID value, and we will call this session check is equal to new ID value. Okay. And what are my overload options for that? Okay, yeah, I don't really care about those. So that's going to be what checks our actual session data. In addition to that, we are going to need, let's see, stance and phase data. That is probably going to require its own data class, as will inventory and equipped items. So hooray, we're making 2 new data classes and a wrapper data class that will wrap all 3 of them. Hooray! Okay, so let's see, data ID value, where are you stored? I'll probably just stick these next to you. The broken earpiece is bugging me. Okay, so I guess I can't really put you there. That's kind of annoying. I don't know where else I want to put that. So for the time being, I guess I'll put it here. We're gonna go ahead and say, you know what? I guess this would go under combat anyway, so there's no real reason for me to put this here. Let's go ahead and get rid of this. All right, we're gonna come up to here, and let's see. In the core scripts, I guess we'll want to have. I don't know if I want to put them here. I don't think I do. Let's go ahead and put these in data. Okay. So we're going to have inventory and combat info. Ugh. Yeah, I can't really think of what else to call it. So the immediate one after session is going to be stance and phase data. So it's actually not going to be too crazy of a thing. I don't even think we're going to need a custom inspector for it really. Let's go ahead and make it a C# script. We'll call this combat. Ugh, combat. No, I was going to say combat value, but that's not really a good name. Geez, that's not combat state value. Because I can't use like combat state or combat phase because I'm using all of those things. I guess we'll just call it combat info. I feel like I've used that though as a data class name before. So let's find out. As soon as it compiles and lets us actually do something. All right, so we're gonna go up here again. Make sure it's in the text plus namespace. Dot combat. It's not gonna be a mono behavior. It is gonna be a system dot serializable. Okay, so for this we are going to want to say public int. Can't even do that. Public int phase is equal to 0. Then public int stance is equal to 0. And that's really all I care about. I suppose we could also have an HP range so that it only shows that in certain HP ranges, but I don't think that's actually that relevant because most likely what we would do there is we would switch stances or phases once we get to a certain HP range, and then this check would be redundant. So, we'll just do phase and stance for now. And then we will simply say public bool is valid, and that will take an int phase, an int stance, and we'll say return this dot phase is equal to phase, and this dot, wow, I can't spell this. This dot stance is equal to stance. Okay. Not equal, is equal to. All right, and I guess actually let's go ahead and rename this to stance index, so it's a little less ambiguous. Index, and we can get rid of this parts now. All right, and I suppose we will go ahead and tooltip this just so that it's an easier inspector for us. And we're going to say the index of the target phase. Tooltip. The index of the target stance within the target phase. Okay, I think we are good there. Let's go ahead and get rid of you. That's pretty much that entire script, honestly. So we're going to say public combat info, and we're going to call that combat info, not indo info. So it's new combat info. And now, last thing we're going to need is an inventory check, and that's really going to be super weird, but I think we'll be able to do it. So what we have to do for the inventory check, or the goal behind it, is we want to be able to tell what items the player has equipped. And with that information, we can do specific actions, or we can allow certain labels. So let's go ahead, create C# script, and we're going to call that inventory check. Oh, you know what? I should have called it combat check, or combat state check, maybe. I guess that's fine. Oh, I could have called it combat stance check. That's what I should have called it. Okay. Let's go ahead, call this inventory check. Open that up. Make sure it's properly namespaced. Not combat. Again, not a mono behavior, just a system.serialized class. Okay. So this is where things. Oh, geez. Actually, you know what? No, it's okay. So we're going to say public item ID. Item is equal to item ID dot none. Okay. And then we're going to say public bool equipped is equal to true, probably, actually. Okay, so we're going to say tooltip. Let's go up here, tooltip this. So the idea for this is that I'm going to be able to check if you have a certain item in your inventory and if it's equipped. Oh, geez. Should I... geez. Hold on. That might not be specific enough. Let me go ahead and say public item... This pretty much got all the options that I want. It kind of does. Crap. Okay. That sucks. I really don't want to have to handle this with a custom enum, but I guess I probably should. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and say public enum inventory type from byte. It's gonna be in inventory. Oh, jeez, no. No. So I'm trying to think through what possible criteria I could want, and it could be something like, I want you to have the item, meaning that it's in your inventory, but not necessarily have it equipped. Because it could be an unequipable item. I could see a case for that. Or I need to specify like it should be in your inventory and you need to have it equipped. So I guess I would just have equipped or not equipped. But that's just a bool check at that point, so I don't really need an enum. So I guess I'll say if true requires the target item be equipped. Okay. And for the item, this is going to be the item the player must have in their inventory. Okay. And then again, we're just going to say public bool, if I could spell public bool is valid. And this is not going to actually take any parameters. Instead, we're going to say return game manager. Sorry, not instance. What am I doing here? Inventory. Okay, good. Making sure. So we want to do tq game manager dot get instance. Why do I keep trying to type instance? Inventory dot let me think. How do I want to phrase this? Dot contents. No. Dang it, there it is. Find item. Item. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to say equipped question mark. If so, then we want to see not if it's just or not if it's in our inventory, but also if it's equipped. So we need to say, yeah, that's the same thing, isn't it? So tq game manager dot get inventory dot equipped. Yeah, that is I might actually go ahead and add a function to inventory to handle this. Let's see, inventory, equipment ID, clothing, equipment. Okay. So let's go ahead. We're going to add a function here called public bool has equipped item, and I will go ahead and pass in an item ID. And for that, we're just going to say return. I think I want to just say, yeah, equipment ID. Equipment ID is equal to ID, or clothing ID is equal to ID, or accessory ID is equal to ID. So if any of those three are true, it means that you have it equipped. So let's go ahead, save that, go back here, and we're just going to say has equipped item, else we want to do that. Okay. And we want to say find item not equal null. Cool. So that's pretty basic. Not doing anything too crazy there. So the real crazy stuff is going to come in here. Let's go ahead and say public inventory check. Inventory check is equal to new inventory check. Okay. I'm also going to rename this to check while we're at it. Okay. So let's go ahead and I'm going to go to combat attack criteria collection. Let's go ahead and say serialize field, not 0, yarg. There we go. Private. I'm not going to make this a list. I'm just going to make it a combat attack criteria array. Criteria is equal to new combat attack criteria 0. Okay. Now, what we also need to do is we need an enum that returns whether having the criteria should show, hide, or make it a false choice. So I need to make that an enum. Okay. So we'll let that compile. While that's happening, I'm going to create a new script. We're going to call this combat attack criteria type. And that'll all show up right away. Yep. Okay. Let's go ahead and make that work. And this is just going to have visible, hidden, or hazardous, I guess. I don't really know what else to call it. But hazardous does seem like the best choice, honestly, because it's not... False choice doesn't seem like a good name, and hazardous implies actually what it does, which is if you take this, you'll take damage. Okay. So let's go ahead, come over here. We're going to make this in the textquest.combat namespace again. We're going to have it derived from byte. It is going to be an enum. All right. So our three types are going to be visible. Wow. Visible. And that's going to be 0. Hidden. That's not also going to be 0. That's going to be 1. And then hazard, which is going to be 2. All right, those are the only three that we really care about. I can't really think of anything else at the time. So let's go ahead and come over to, okay, that works too. Save you, close you. I don't really need you anymore, I don't think. And we're going to go over to, here we are, combat criteria collection. We're going to serialize a field, private, combat attack criteria type. Valid type, is that what I wanted? Yeah, I guess we'll do that. Valid type is equal to dot visible serialized field private combat attack type invalid type is equal to, actually I probably want this to be the case. Hazard. Alright. So let's go ahead and tooltip these while I'm at it. So if all of the criteria is valid, then we're going to return this valid type. If not all of the criteria is valid, we will return the invalid type. So we're going to say if all criteria is valid, return this type for the attack. If not all criteria. All right. So let's go ahead and let that compile, and I'm going to show you what this looks like currently. So if we just blow this up, we're going to have like tons of crap here, which is not really that useful to us. And it froze because it's got to compile. So I'm going to take a drink while it's happening. Okay, so opening up all of this. Let's go ahead and make it a bool. So this is just what we already are used to. We have a session value that we can check. Combat check will check the actual phases and stances. It's going to have to be int based, unfortunately. I can't really make it an enum based. That would be way too weird, and would really only be convenient for me in the editor, but it wouldn't really help anything at runtime. Okay, so inventory check. Pretty much we're just going to see what item that you want to check for and if it should be equipped or not. So now we need to hide two of these options and only show the valid one, so the type that you want. Oh, and actually that's another thing. I do need that enum. So I need to go ahead and say public. I guess it would be, well, we'll go ahead and make it public, I guess. Enum, what do I want to call this? Criteria type, derived from byte, and it is going to be, let's see, session is equal to 0, combat is equal to 1, and then inventory is equal to 2. Cool. And then at the very, very top here, we're going to say serialize field, private criteria type. We will go ahead and just call this type is equal to criteria type dot session. We'll go ahead and tooltip this. The type of criteria to evaluate. Okay. So that's going to be an enum dropdown that tells us which one of these three to use. Oh, crap. No, that shouldn't go there. That should not be here. That should instead... Should it be its own class? Probably. I'm going to take that out. We actually need to put that here. And that's going to be public. And we're going to go ahead and comment all of that out for now. I think we are going to... Well... Do I need to make it an actual separate enum? Because it's not really going to be used outside of this class, so I could probably do this. Okay, so let's go ahead and get rid of this. We'll make it public. We don't need the serialized field anymore. And we're going to save. All right. So we'll let that compile. And that will actually let us determine which of these three we want to use. So now we're going to get into some editor wizardry. Let's go back up here. And we want to go to, I don't know where you went. I must have closed you. Okay. Okay. Let's open this up again. All right. Oh, I guess I just moved it really far down. We don't really need you anymore. All right. So for this, we are going to want to do a couple of things. First up, we're going to override. We're going to need get property height to be overridden. We're also going to want to override and then on GUI. So we'll get rid of you. We're going to say float height is equal to that. Then we will return height. Okay. We are going to want, let's see, a couple of things. So to start, we're going to want to say position.height is equal to editor GUI utility dot single line height, and then we're going to go ahead and say editor GUI dot property field property dot find property relative. It's going to be relative path, which is going to be for the type, and then we're going to obviously need to say position, comma. All right, so that should handle drawing the enum, and then we're going to need to say position dot y plus equals position dot height. That is not exactly going to look good right now, but it'll be fine. Now we need to determine what our enum value is. So I'm actually probably going to store this as a serialized property. Serialized property. T is equal to this. Call this type. Pass in type here. All right. So now we're going to say switch type dot height. Oh, not height. Why did I do that? Dot int value. Say case, and this is going to be combat tech. No, I'm sorry. Criteria type. Criteria type. Oh crap! Dang it. Okay, I can do magic numbers, I suppose. I hate doing magic numbers, but it'll be fine. So normally what I would do here is I would cast an enum value to an int to get this int value. But since I made this a enum within that, I guess I can just do this. So give me a second. Do this. It's a little more tedious, but it works. Let's go ahead and copy that and copy that. So here's our combat. Here is our inventory. All right. Then we're going to go ahead and say, hold on. I guess we'll go ahead and cache this. So we'll say float. Height. I can't spell height even. Is equal to. Seriously, it didn't get the 8. There we go. Is equal to position dot height. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and say height minus equal position dot height. And what we're going to do after that is simply say position dot height is equal to height. Okay, and then all I have to do is say editor GUI dot draw property. Sorry, not property field. And then we're going to say position and property dot find property relative that. And what did I call in addition to that? I want to say true. Let's see here. So I need to call this session check. Paste that in. Grab this. Paste you and paste you. So this is going to be combat check. This is going to be inventory check. All right. So that should pretty much be everything that I need for it to draw, but it's not going to get its height properly yet. For that, I need to do, well, this. We'll go ahead and grab you, paste that there, and we're going to grab you. And then we are going to, instead of doing property field here, we are going to say height plus equals editor GUI dot get property height. Yep, there we go. That should be everything that I need. Yep. Grab you. Okay, paste that in. Okay, you're really not liking that, huh? Alright. So that should do pretty much everything that I want, and we should be good. So let's go ahead and let that compile. Oh, actually, no, before I forget. let's live dangerously. So we're going to say custom property drawer, type of, combat attack criteria. Save that out. Let that compile. And now our list here should completely change. It should compress down to just the session. If I did this right. Which obviously I have never made a mistake, ever. So, okay, so looking good so far. Real question is, not bad. Oh, crap. That is problematic. I didn't think about that. So these aren't collapsible. They're just what they are. I need to wrap this in a parent crap, what's it called? Like a parent fold out. Otherwise, it's going to get really, really confusing to understand what this is. So let's go ahead and put that in combat. Let's go ahead and have 4 things. Inventory. Excuse me. And okay. I mean, everything seems to be pretty much doing what I would expect. We might have custom property drawers that we use for inventory and combat checks purely so that I can see the labels like we do for our session stuff. Like I can see in the session drawer like the name of the variable that we're checking for and what the comparison is and the expected value. So I'll probably do something similar where it'll say like phase 0, stance 0 in this label. And then inventory check would be the item name and then if it should be equipped, I guess. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's work on the fold out first, and we'll handle that. Okay, so first things first, I guess we're going to want to say if property dot is expanded, we're going to wrap all this stuff up. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and say height plus equals, actually, no, we'll just say times 2. Times equals 2f. Seems correct. And yeah, this is where it's going to get fun. So, yeah, let me think. So this is going to actually require a fair bit more than I was hoping. Jeez, that's so annoying. I don't want to have to declare that float, but I'm going to have to. Boo! Okay. So I need to, first up, get our fold out drawing. So I'm going to go ahead and say property dot is expanded is equal to editor GUI dot fold out position and then property dot is expanded. Then we're going to need a GUI content for it. But I don't know what to put here. So I will go up here. We're going to say private static GUI content. We'll call this fold out label is equal to new GUI content. I guess I can't really use a tooltip. Oh, geez. I can't really use a set label either, can I? That's super frustrating. So I have to do this dynamically. Hooray! So that's going to be fun. We're going to go ahead and, for now, say new GUI content. Do that. We'll just have this list as test. And then we're going to have to do a couple of things. First up, I'm going to move this. Come down to here. Get the type. And then I am going to say if property.is expanded. I'm going to do all this fun stuff. All right. Okay, so I really, really don't want to do this. But I'm going to have to, aren't I? I'm going to say times 2f. So it's a little sad, but I'm going to have the float height declaration be used even if I'm not always going to use it. Otherwise it gets really convoluted to try and come up with a good way to handle it. So that's disappointing. I guess I can move this out at the very least. So I am going to do this. I'm going to rename this GUI content, and it is going to be super awkward, but it's going to work. And we're going to call this type.intValue. We're going to wrap that and then cast it to this. And then we're going to say .toString. That is super awkward, but it will work. Let's go ahead and grab this and this. Okay. So that will tell us the type of it, and then we can open it up to drill down to see more details. And I think that is pretty much all we're going to need to do. So then I'm going to say position.y plus equals position.height. Okay, I think that's what we want. So let's see what that looks like. Go ahead and let that compile. So what should happen is that all of that should now be wrapped with a fold out, and then we should be able to collapse and expand the entirety of a specific thing, as opposed to having them awkwardly kind of mixed together like that. Yeah, that works. So you can see session, inventory, combat. Does it seem like everything's blending? Yep, seems like everything's got the correct height and all that. I do need to indent it, so let's go ahead and do this. Editor GUI dot indent level plus plus. At the very end here, we'll say editor GUI dot indent level minus minus. Okay. So that should, I believe, indent our Rex a little bit more. Although I'm actually not sure if I'm going to have to adjust my rectangles manually for that or not. Let's find out. Aha! All right. That's mostly to keep visual consistency because of how Unity handles its editor indentation. You want to make sure that whenever you have a fold out like this that you indent all of the fields below it. I almost forgot that too. I always forget to do this, but whenever you do a fold out, make sure that it ends with comma true. Because that comma true at the very end of that declaration lets me click on the label to fold it out. If you don't have that, then you have to click directly on the triangle, which is super annoying. I don't know why they do that, why it's even an option, but I'm sure some people get some use out of it. Okay, so now I can click on the actual labels to open and close these things. Okay, so that is our main drawer, but now I want to apply custom drawers for combat and inventory checks so that they do stuff like our data ID value. So let's go ahead and we are going to go to combat info real quick, and I want to rename this. Oh, good. I'm going to rename this to combat stance check. Not exactly the best, but I think it's the most accurate name. It's a little long-winded, but it's okay. Go ahead, rename this. Stance, no. I can't type, apparently. I hate it when I accidentally hit M and N at the same time, because then I get stuff like that, where it's like stam. And I gotta wait for it to compile before I can do anything. Okay, combat stance check. Then we're gonna create some editor folders and do some custom property drawers. Create folder. Editor. Create another folder while we're at it. Editor. Let it finish compiling before I do anything else. Trying to think if there's anything exciting going on in the gaming world. Most recent thing I can really think of is that everyone's super excited about God of War, but nothing really else going on as far as I can tell. Everyone's just getting ready for E3. I do have some line endings that need to be fixed, apparently. There we are. Nope, didn't want to do that, did you? There we go. Oh, I should probably save. And then create C# script. You gonna work with me, Unity? No? Okay. One of these days. There we go. Inventory check drawer. Let's create another C# script. Oi, I hate that it just freezes when it finishes compiling. I believe in you, Unity. Not very much, but I believe in you. Combat stance check drawer. Whatever. Okay, let's put this in the text quest namespace dot combat. This is going to be, I can't actually do that yet. We're going to say using Unity editor. It's going to be a property drawer, custom property drawer, type of combat stance check. All right, we're going to override for height. Then we're going to override for GUI. Get rid of the U. And we're pretty much going to do the same thing, I guess. So I guess we'll say times, and then we'll say property dot is expanded question mark 4f else 1f. Yes, I know. Hold on. There we go. So pretty basic here. Oh, this is stance drawer. I only need 3 for this, don't I? Actually, I only need 3 for all of them. So, okay. For on GUI, we're going to say property dot height is. Come on, work with me here. Dot height. Oh, right. Why am I doing property? Position dot height. I was like, what's going on here? Is equal to editor GUI dot. Sorry, editor GUI utility dot single line height. Then we're going to say property dot is expanded is equal to editor GUI dot fold out. That's what it was. I was like, I can never remember what to call it. I always want to call it a drop down, but that is not correct. It's a very different thing. Position and property dot is expanded, followed by another new GUI content label. So we're going to say new GUI content. It's going to be nothing for now. And then again, true. Okay, and then after that, we're going to say if property dot is expanded. Say position dot y plus equals position dot height, and then we'll need that again. Position dot y plus equals position dot height, and then after that, we're going to say editor GUI dot property field. Position followed by property dot find property relative. Actually, that is a lie. We are not going to do that. We are instead going to take you, and I need to put this down here. So I'm going to say serialized property. Not that. I will call this phase is equal to this. Call that phase. Copy this over. Call this stance. Stance. That is what I called them, right? Peak definition, phase, and stance. Yep. Cool. And then we're going to change this to a super fun string. Jeez, can I do that? Will that work? It would certainly be better. I'm going to try that. Okay. So I'm going to cache this. So we're going to say private string cached label is equal to nothing. And we're going to call this cached label, which, I don't know if I need to make this GUI content instead. I mean, I might as well. Yeah, we'll try that. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and say, we're going to make this a GUI content. Is equal to new GUI content. Boop. All right, let's go ahead and say, we're just going to make this cached label. And then we're going to have a private function here. I guess private void initialize label. And let me think. I don't actually want to do that. This needs to be phase. Might as well get these things set up. And you're going to be stance. So to initialize the label, I need to know if it's been changed. So I'm probably actually just going to go ahead and say if cached label is equal to null, initialize label, we're not going to have that declare something then. It's just going to be null by default, which I guess I could do that. So if it's null to start, we're going to initialize label. And then, of course, we're going to go ahead and wrap all of this with editor GUI.begin change check. And then after this, we're going to say if editor GUI.end change check. Initialize label. Okay. So I'll walk you through why I went through these last couple of hoops. Once I get it finished up. For now, I'm just kind of gonna like rapid fire, speak out loud what I'm doing without going into detail really. So next we need to set up and parse our actual phases. So I'm actually gonna go ahead and do this. Do phase stance. Copy this. Copy that. Paste this in. Make them serialized properties. Okay. So we're going to say cached label is equal to new GUI content. Okay, this is going to be fun. String.format. And then that's pretty much going to be it. But we're going to say phase 0 followed by stance all right. After that, we're going to want to say phase.int value, then stance.int value, and that's pretty good for now. I could potentially make a comparison, so like if it's less than 0, I would just say any, which I might actually do, which is kind of annoying actually because it's going to have to convert them to strings, but you know what, it's fine. Let's go ahead and just say is less than 0, question mark, and it's going to be that. Otherwise, it's going to be phase.int value.toString. Okay, so we're going to say any, and we're pretty much just going to do the exact same thing, but with stances instead. So stance. Okay, I think that's everything we need. So let's go ahead and let that compile. Pretty sure that's what we want. Oh, I probably need to indent it, but it's fine for now. Let's go ahead and select this inspector. If it lets me. You can do it, Unity. I believe in you. All right. Ta-da! And there it is. Although, jeez, I freaking... yeah, I know. Okay. This is one of the things that I really hate about editor inspector or custom editors is that you can't you can't easily get it to look exactly the same. There's like a 2 pixel buffer that actually lies um, between fields. It's a subtle thing, but it's really annoying to me that I don't get it automatically. I have to like manually do this. I'm also gonna go ahead and open this up again, convert you. Okay, and we are going to. You know what? I guess I can. Okay, hold on. Let's go ahead and we're gonna say position dot height minus equals 2f. Okay, and we're gonna change this to be this. All right, so I'm gonna show you what that subtlety looks like. So you'll see these two number fields. They will get just a little spaced out now. It's a very subtle effect, but it's very nice. And there it is. Although that's actually not correct, is it? God dang it. Okay. So, bah! Fine. I'll live with the terribleness of it. I really should write a custom utility class or a function to handle this. I just hate that I don't have that gap because it makes it look sloppy and it drives me nuts. But the alternative is having it be hyper compressed like that. I think what you actually have to do is move it down by 1 pixel and then make it shorter by 1 pixel, so it has like a 2 pixel buffer spread out over the top and the bottom. It's really annoying. I don't like that it does that, but what are you gonna do? That's what's necessary. Okay, so if we change this, we should say 3. Cool. I'm gonna go ahead and make this a combat phase. I was worried about that. Okay, so now they're gonna fight over each other. So I can't cache it, which is annoying, but it is understandable. So that just means that I am going to, I guess, just have this return a GUI content. So this will return GUI content instead, and we'll just have that be here. So we can get rid of this. We can get rid of this change check now. That's good. And I'm going to rename this to create label. It's annoying because it means that I have to remake this label every frame, and I don't like doing that because that's horrendously inefficient. But sadly, property drawers don't actually seem to isolate their cached values. They seem to be shared across the board. I have no idea why they made it like that. I would have expected something else, but whatever, it's fine. It just means that it's possible that if I have a ton of criteria, that I would experience some slowdown if all of them were expanded. But I guess that's just kind of inevitable. So now you can see that this says 3 and this says 4, as opposed to both of them saying whatever the last one I edited was. Make sure that you're correct. 3 and 4. 2. Cool. Cool. So that is our combat phase. And now we need to handle our inventory check. So, pretty much going to do the same thing. Let's see, where are you? Inventory check drawer. Open this up. Make it in the text quest namespace. .combat. Make it a right. Whatever. Property drawer. Using Unity editor. Okay. Custom property drawer. Type of inventory check. Also peek that definition. So item and equipped, those are the two that we want. Let's go ahead and say override. Get property height. Override. On GUI. Get rid of this. Pretty much going to be the same thing here. We're going to say times property dot is expanded. You know what? I guess now that I think about it, doesn't really. I'm gonna try this a different way. So I'm just gonna return base height and not multiply it by anything, because we really, I mean, regardless of what happens, we're gonna have the property height be be read in one line at a time. So I want to try something else, see if I can get a nice effect out of this. I'm gonna go ahead and say property dot is expanded is equal to editor GUI dot fold out with position followed by property dot is expanded with new GUI content. Oh, wow, come on. GUI content, blah blah blah, followed with true. Oop, did I do that for my other check? Okay, good, I did. Then we're going to go down here and we're going to say if property dot is expanded. We'll say property dot y plus equals editor GUI utility dot single line height. Then we're going to say editor GUI dot property field followed by property dot. Actually, same thing. We're not really going to have a custom property there. We're going to instead. Why do I keep saying property instead of position? There we go. Okay, so before we even get here, up at the very top, we're going to want to say serialized property. Serialized property. I'm going to call this item is equal to property.find property relative item. Then serialized property. Equipped, I think is what I called it. Property.find property relative. Equipped. Alright. And let's see here. We're going to want a similar label, I guess. Although I might as well just go ahead and not even have it in a function. Just do it here. String.format. We're going to say... Ooh, that's a good point. That's a good point. So I actually don't even know if I want to do string.format. I think I can just do a string. No. We'll do string.format. String.format. And that's going to be 0, then 1, and it's going to be item dot. Oh, right. That's not an enum. That is going to instead be item dot find property relative name, I believe is what I'm going to want there. And then we're going to follow that up with equipped.bool value question mark. Okay, so if it's true, we're going to pass in in parentheses equipped, and then if not, we're not going to pass anything extra in. Okay. Oh, and I should probably say .name .string value. Okay. I think that's what we want there. So then we're going to go ahead and say editor GUI .property field position followed by item. Okay. And then pretty much this exact same thing, except this time with equipped. All right. I think we're good. Let's check this out. So we should see this collapse into, instead of just saying inventory check, it should say none and then nothing, basically. Abracadabra. Ooh, that is so not good. Wow, really? Oh, right. Yep, nope, that's... Yep, I was foolish for thinking that that would work. So I need to say question mark 3F else 1F. Okay, so I basically just got to do that. Let's say position dot height is equal to editor GUI utility dot single line height. Disappointing. I should have realized that that wouldn't work though. This get property height doesn't just return like the height of the rect that you draw. It returns the actual space that's reserved for your property. So if it's too short, like it was there, it thought it was only one line long, then your fields will overlap with each other and make it incomprehensible. I don't know why I thought this would work, but disappointing. Um, okay, then that should be fine. Let's go ahead and let that compile. So it's going to say type inventory. It's going to give us a none check here. And then, give me a second. And then I can say equipped. So if nothing is equipped, then I can do that. Or if I have hands and they are equipped, which they will always be equipped technically. Although actually I didn't think about it. I was worried about how I would figure out like how I would specify that the player doesn't have anything equipped, but I could totally just do that if there's nothing equipped. I feel like that would work, kind of in a weird way. No, that would not. Well, actually, it would. I just need to change the inventory real quick. So let's go ahead and go to inventory check. Go to definition. Go to has equipped item. I'm going to go ahead and say. Okay. It's a little awkward, but I'm going to say before all of that, I'm going to say if ID is equal to item ID dot none. I will say return equipment ID is equal to item ID dot none. Actually, I guess I could just say ID and pretty much all of this, except instead of saying or, it's going to be and. So if nothing is equipped, essentially, then we will return true there. So that should work just fine. Cool. So that is pretty much everything that I needed from it. So that's all of the editor stuff set up. Now we have some nice custom editors that tell us exactly what our values are. For inventory checks, it tells us what the item is that we're targeting and whether or not it should be equipped. For combat, it tells us the phase and stance. And for session, it tells us the data ID, the comparison type, and then the expected data value. Excuse me. So, I got the hiccups. So now, we need to actually hook this criteria up and make it work. So, okay. Let's go over here to the initial timeline, and I'm going to, I guess we'll just change this criteria dropdown into a scriptable object field. So let's go ahead and edit that class. So we don't really need this anymore. I don't think we need any of our drawers. Criteria collection, that's fine. I probably should have kept that open though. Where are you? That is not what I wanted. Huh. Okay. Oh no, this is what I wanted. So I'm going to go ahead and call this combat attack combat attack criteria collection. Okay. So now that is a scriptable object field instead of a drop-down field. And that gives me a little bit more control over it. And it lets us know exactly what it should be. So hooray. Uh-oh. Oh, right. Combat action drawer is totally dot combat. Let's try that again. Wait, really? Not doing anything with custom editor stuff? Okay. surprising. And let that compile. Let's see now. No weird line endings. Okay. Let's grab this. Nice. There's our criteria. And let's go ahead and I'm going to move this criteria into the troll specific criteria. Let's go ahead and move this down. Oh yeah, that was something else I did yesterday. I've actually started work on the troll scripts specific to troll combat because I can't really have the combat system be designed around the troll. That's what I did originally, and that's why it was really hard to extend. So I need to sort of separate out what the troll needs versus what all combat's going to need, so that I get a good base to work from, but isn't actually specifically hand coded for the troll. Okay, so we want, where are you? Here you are. Attack criteria. So I'm going to go ahead and create a folder down here, call it attack criteria. Here, I am going to, let's see, I'm going to reduce this down to 1. It is not going to be a session, it's going to be a combat. If we are in phase 0, stance 0, then you are going to be, the troll is going to have its club in the right hand, so it will be to your left. So in that case, the valid type will be hazard, invalid type will be visible. That is fine. Okay. So that is what we want. Let's go ahead and add this up. God, this is really going to be awkward. I'm going to say phase 0, stance 0, left. That is not a great naming convention, but it is the best I can do. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and our initial timeline. I guess we'll put this here. So this is going to be phase 0. Okay, stance 0. And actually that works pretty well. Let's go ahead and duplicate this. We're going to need to rename this to stance 1 right. And we're going to make that stance 1. All right. Same exact thing. We're going to apply that to the right side as well. Okay. So what should happen now is that if we are in the left stance, so if we're in phase 0, which is what we start out in by default, and we are in stance 0, which is what we start out in by default, then the left attack should now be considered a hazard attack. So now we need to hook up logic to actually handle that. Let's go to our attack section clip, by which I mean our behavior. And all right, yeah, this is where it's going to get fun, because in addition to that, I actually need to open up my criteria here, and I need to say public combat attack criteria type. Wow, that's really not the best name for that, is it? That's really not the best name for that, is it? It should be like combat attack type, or combat attack label type, I think. Let's go ahead and do that real quick. Yeah. Not exactly the best, but or combat. I guess I don't really know what else to call it. because it deals with criteria, but it's not exactly accurate there. Whatever. We'll keep the name for now until I can think of a better one. So we're gonna say is no, not is valid. We'll say check check validity. Whatever. I'll just say is valid. Is valid, and that's actually going to need to take a few things. Really, it only needs to take the ints for phase and ints for stance, because everything else is pretty much fine. Oh, crap. No, that's fine. That's fine. So we're going to say return. I lied. I guess we're going to go ahead and say for int I equals 0. I is less than criteria dot length I plus plus. And we're going to say if criteria of I dot is, shoot, really? I don't have a valid. So let's go to definition here. I probably need to do that, don't I? That's super awkward. Okay, yeah, let's go ahead and say public bool is valid. Again, we're going to take int, not intro data, int phase, int stance. And then we're going to do a switch statement. That's going to be the type. So case criteria type dot session. That's going to do something specific. For that, we can actually just return session check dot is valid. Then case criteria type dot combat. We will return combat check, not combat character. Come on, work with me. Combat check dot is valid, and then we'll pass in phase and stance, and then finally case criteria type dot combat. Not combat. Dot inventory. We will return inventory check dot is valid. Okay. So for this, I'm actually going to go ahead and peek this definition. I'm going to get rid of that, make it a getter. I don't see really a reason for it to be. Oh, you really didn't like that, did I? Oh, right, because I got to say get. But I don't really see much of a reason for it to be a function when I can just make it a getter there. Okay, and then we'll return false by default there. It should never really get to there, but just in case. Let's go back here now, and oh wait, no, there we are. Go back here. I'm going to say is valid. Pass in phase and stance. Okay, so we're going to say if not criteria dot is valid, we will return invalid type. And then at the end of this, we're just going to say return valid type. Valid type. There we are. Cool. So now we can go over to our tag section behavior and handle a couple of things. So we're going to say, what is it? Combat attack criteria type. Ooh, do I have a type value already? I don't think I do. Oh, I do. Crap. I guess we'll call this label type is equal to criteria. Oh, right. Actions of I dot criteria dot is valid, which requires our phase and stance, which I don't have right now. So for now, I'm going to pass in 0, 0. That is fine. And then we're going to say if label type does not equal hidden, not hazard, hidden, then we're going to spawn labels. Then at the very end, we're going to say if label type is equal to combat attack dot hazard, then we're going to say label dot. I got the hiccups and it's driving me nuts. Let's go to definition here real quick. Do I have a function for this? attack, check input, activate, attack, deactivate, attack, reset. No. None of that. Get rid of this. Fade out coroutine, false choice coroutine. Okay. So, no, I need to add a function here. I'm going to go ahead and say it's got to be public. So I'm going to call it public void set hazard. There we are. And for that, we're simply going to call start coroutine false choice coroutine. I guess we'll also actually want to say if false choice behaviors dot length is greater than 0. We'll do that. And also, I'm going to rename that. So instead of false choice coroutine, it is going to be called rename hazard coroutine. Hazard coroutine. And I guess we'll rename false choice behaviors to rename as hazard behaviors. What is up with that? Are you serious? What happened here? Why did you rename to J behaviors and then refuse to rename farther to hazard behaviors? There we go. Weird. Okay, I think that's pretty good. Let's go over here to our action behavior again. We're just going to say label dot set hazard. Set hazardous. Okay, I think that's all we really want. So, the last thing we need to do is just make sure that our prefab for the attack labels has the proper behaviors on it, and then I think it will function. It's obviously not, fully functional, but it should show an attack that is a hazardous choice and then an attack that is a good choice. So let's go over here to prefabs, grab you. We're going to come down to here, hazard behaviors. Let's make this 2. So we're going to want, let's see, letter shake and background color, I think. All right. So let's try this. So what I'm... Uh-oh, we have a null reference? That's never a good thing. I'm going to have to see what that is. But we should have... Okay, so let's go ahead and say battle. Ooh, that totally did not work. Totally did not. Okay, huh. Interesting. Did I accidentally do the different one? No, there. Okay, well, let's go over to our attack criteria. And I guess I'm going to, in combat, let's go to definition. Let's go ahead and say debug.log. I really don't like that. Hold on. Let's see, combat stance check. Where are you set up? Combat attack criteria. Let's go over here. Combat check. Okay. So I want to debug here. Oh, that's still not good enough. All right. Crap. I wanted to get the name of the criteria collection that it's in, but I can't really do that very easily. So I guess I'm just going to do this here. I'm going to say debug.log phase index. You know what, screw it. I'm going to make it a string.format. We'll say 0, 1, and then 2 and 3. Okay, so I'm going to separate these by dashes. And then we're going to say phase, followed by phase index, followed by stance, followed by stance index. All right. So that should at least debug out what values it's expecting. So it should say what it thinks, or what its desired phase and stances are. Oh, and by the way, I did totally forget to indent my stuff here. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Inventory check, find all references. I'm going to go to my property jar, come over here, editor GUI dot indent level plus grab you, copy minus, and we're going to do the same thing for combat stance check, find all references. Minor thing, but I like to keep consistency wherever I can in my editors. Okay, let's see what happens. Once we have this working, it should be fairly. Let's see. What's the next thing we're actually going to work on after we get this working? The next thing would be getting failure cutscenes to play. I mean, they kind of already do. I just haven't actually got the cutscene there. Oh, I probably should make the UI go away when I do this, but it's fine for now. Okay, so there's our debugs. One of them was true, but it's still evaluated to false? Interesting. Interesting. Let's go over here to, let's get rid of the drawer. Get rid of you. Okay, here we are. So we get our label type. If label type is equal to hazard, then okay. Actions of I dot. Let's see. Actions of I dot criteria dot is valid. I mean, I is the correct iterator. It's the correct index there. What on earth is wrong then? Did I do something stupid here? Did I have it like return? No. If not criteria dot is valid, phase instance. I mean, did I totally did say and, right? Yeah, I did. Then how on earth can you be valid? Gross. Fine, then I'm going to go ahead and just debug this value to make sure that it's returning true both times. So debug dot, if I could spell debug dot log. Okay, so that should force it to debug the value that it's looking for and let me know if it thinks it's true or false. And if one of them comes back as true and the other comes back as false, I'm going to be very confused and actually quite angry. Okay. Let's try this again. Okay. Okay, true and false. Whoa, hold on. What happened here? It output everything twice. Interesting. Interesting. Why? Oh, did I do something stupid? Well, no. They're both like that, right? Yeah. Okay. Um. So it thinks 00 is true, which is correct, and it thinks that 01 is false, which is also correct. But why did it output it twice? Is what's weird. Interesting. Why would you do it twice? Oh no, that makes sense. Well, no, does it? No, it does not. Never mind. It should only output these values once each, for a total of 2 times, not twice each for a total of 4 times. I don't know what called is valid twice. It looks like combat attack criteria collection line 33 and line 31. Line 33 and line 31. Huh. I what? That's so weird. Maybe it's outputting it because I wrapped it in this is valid check. That's really weird, but interesting. Huh. Okay, so that could just be a minor weird output thing. I've never seen that before. Is that really what it's doing? Um, but it's still false, which is so weird because that means that this should evaluate to true and therefore return the invalid type. But it's not. It's returning the valid type. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and stop. I guess we'll debug what it thinks the label type is. Label type. Interesting. I wonder why it's wrong. I bet it's something incredibly tiny and stupid that I did. That's normally what it is. But you never know if that's actually what it is. It probably is, because that's always what it is. And when I solve it, it will be great. And then I will probably bang my head against the desk, because it will probably have been something stupid. Okay. 14th time's the charm. I don't actually think it's been 14 times. I think it's been closer to like 6, but I'm curious to see what it is. I'm also curious to know what that object, or null object reference is. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and say battle. Here we go. Hazard and visible. You are really throwing me off here. What? What? Tell me I did something stupid like have label type be nope. Okay. One of them is straight up called. I don't understand. Um how on what is happening here? Like our values are clearly coming out differently, but they're not evaluating correctly. Like they're both evaluating as not hidden, which is good, but then one of them evaluates as hazard. Excuse me. And then the other one doesn't. It evaluate well, no, both of them evaluate as hazard. Um I'm gonna test something real quick. I'm gonna flip the criteria order. I'm legitimately curious if it's just gonna do whichever one came first. I hope not, but I wonder if that's the case. It's going to be really annoying. Also, I do need to check to make sure that the object is not null before I start running criteria. Which that is not what that is, right? Okay, good. That's just that. That's cool. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Both of them evaluated. Ah! Again, it's like if one gets evaluated as hazard, then it's like, aha, off to the races. Okay. Oh, wait. Time out, time out, time out. Before I get too crazy, is it because of my own stupidity? It's always because of that. Hold on. Let me guess. Yes! There it is. That's what it was. It was that line. So I was, regardless of whether something was evaluating as true or not, I was forcing it to start its hazard effects if it had a long enough, if it had more than 0 effects applied to it. So that was me. Like I said, something stupid that I really should have known. Okay, let's properly set this up again. So left and right. It's always something small like that I did as a one-off just to test something, and then it always comes back to bite me. That's why you should always delete the code that you're done with once you're done with it. Okay. So let's go ahead and say 1. Yes! Nice. That also explains why it was jumbling around super fast, actually, because I think it was stacking on top of each other. Cool. So we now have. This choice is also going to be super funny. Oh, cool. It actually. That's good. Okay. So that is. All right. We got it working. Ha! So as a quick test, I am going to also change our stance left to, instead of being hazardous, it's going to be hidden if it evaluates to true. So now, when we go to that initial stage, it should have the right label, but not the left label. Left label should just be gone. Also, there's a cat. Yes, I see you, cat. You're right in front of the keyboard. Actually, you're right in front of my mouse. I can't really work like that. Okay. Let's try this, and ha-ha! Perfect! And I want to see what happens. It's probably going to break. Oh, wait, what? That was interesting. It went to the left even though I typed in right. That's probably not the best. Cool, though. So we have hidden and hazardous and visible working. So that's nice. Actually, I guess I should try. Let's try the reverse. I'm going to make right be visible by default and then hazard otherwise. Let's go ahead and use that. Just to see if I can make stuff be hazardous if it evaluates to false. Because that will probably just as often be used. Well, maybe not just as often, but almost as often. Okay, so let's try this again. Okay, I was going to say like, oh no, they're both doing it again, but no, that's right. I'm pretty sure that this is, yeah, it's not going to do anything. Okay, so that works. Cool. Let's go ahead and move that back to hazard. Make you visible again. And then I'm going to save. Okay, so the next thing to do is let's go ahead and get the combat view to go away whenever you enter your command. So for that, we're going to want to go to combat system, probably the base class. Let's get rid of get rid of this. Don't need you anymore. Let's get rid of our various debugs because they were working all along and I was just being stupid. Get rid of you. All right. And for this, we're going to want keep attack section behavior. We don't care about combat action drawer. Right. We don't care about combat action. Control combat system. Control stance behavior. That's all fine. All right. Combat system. That is what we wanted. So it's. I pulled over a fair amount of code from TQ Combat to sort of get things hooked up with the UI. And you can see that it already ballooned out the class pretty well. So we're up to almost 200 lines. We're still doing way better than the like 800 some that we had for TQ Combat. So hopefully we can get in here with like half as much lines of code or half as many lines of code. That would be really, really nice because now we don't need all of these like these coroutines to handle real-time text-based combat and all that. It can just be handled by the timelines themselves. So I'm hoping that that will automatically handle or just be shorter. But we'll see what we end up doing there. Anyway, so once we actually select an action, which is what we do whenever we type into the combat view, we set our current phase to battling, and then we should activate our timeline. But I probably need to go back over here to TQ Combat, and we want to go find start real-time text-based action. So let's see, start real-time. Where are you? Let's see. Oh, not T. That's not what I want. I want you. Here we go. Start real-time text-based. Okay. Yep. There we go. That's what I want. I really interesting. Let's go ahead and copy this. I'm going to move this over to here. Is that public? That's protected. Okay. We'll put that down here. And I am going to change this, get rid of this part. And I'm going to basically just move this, grab this, and put it in that script. I don't really see much of a reason for us to have the action be passed, because we don't care about it, really. In TQ Combat, we kind of did item to use, but I think that's because this was handling the item that we wanted, and I don't care about that right now. It's fine to no. We're gonna add that stuff in when we need it. I'm not going to take anything. I'm not just gonna pull over code that's not gonna be used. So get rid of this. Okay. So let's go ahead and save that. Let us compile and wonder why my cat is running through the house. So what should happen now is when we enter our selection, when we choose one, it should hide the input and the player labels and all of that, and then it should just show us the combat view. It might try to show us a hint. I don't know if that's going to be the case or not. We will find out. Okay. Full stares blankly at you. I probably need to have a border to that label. I'm going to go ahead and say battle. There we are. Nice. Nice. Cool. I also just realized, is there no audio coming out? Hold on, let me try misspelling an attack. I mean, I don't exactly have a lot of audio going on anyway, but it would be super weird if it didn't have any audio coming out of the misspells. Okay. Ooh, that's not great. So if whenever I misspell, I guess that makes sense actually now that I think about it. You'll notice that when I misspelled something, it played the sound and that's fine, but the letters all like snapped into place and then they went back to jumbling, which is probably that probably has something to do with how I'm handling the letter shake whenever it does have a misspell. So I probably need to figure out a way to make those mesh a little bit better. Or maybe I don't know. I do probably want to have in my attack. Really? It's gone? Alright. I'm going to come up to here, and we're going to say combat attack label, go to definition. I probably want to have a bool here that lets me know that I'm a hazard, or that this label is a hazard. So we'll say protected bool is hazardous is equal to false. I guess this should take a bool then. Well, no. We'll say is hazardous is equal to true. And then at the very end, when we call cleanup, I will probably... Do I actually... We'll say... No, I don't want to get rid of the hazardous stuff right then. Give me a second here. I'm going to go to definition here. And I'm going to say while is hazardous instead of just having it loop forever. Get rid of this stuff. Get rid of this stuff. Get rid of... Actually, no. We'll keep you there. This is going to be hazardous behaviors. Blah, blah, blah. Clean up behavior. Okay. And what we're going to want, I think, is... Where should this be done? Fate indicator, start, no. Get rid of this, because we don't need it. Should be in, I don't want it to be in fade out. That doesn't really make sense. I guess I'll have a public cleanup label, or cleanup, yeah. Let's see, cleanup attack, public void cleanup attack. And for that, we're going to say is hazardous is equal to false. In addition, we'll say... Oh, crap. Crap. Okay, think. We essentially want it to absorb the latter part of fade out coroutine, so right here. But I don't really know if I should do that or not, but that's probably fine. So let's go ahead and grab this. I will say cleanup attack. Let's go to definition here. At the very end, we'll set that to recycle. And everything should be fine, I think. Okay. Yes. I think that's good. Okay. So let's go ahead, let that compile. We'll do one more run through, see if it cleans everything up properly like I would expect. And then the next thing we're going to want to do is handle probably spawning secondary labels for the second wave to make sure that our label recycling and label initialization is all properly cleaning everything up and then resetting it. So let's go ahead and clear this stuff out. Let's hit play. Come on. Oh, why did I do start? 1. Okay. So that seems fine. Let's go ahead and do... Oh, I misspelled. Okay. Let's go ahead and stop playing. Do we get any errors this time? Oh, we still get errors. Well, fine. Whatever. Also, I'm curious to know how combat feels right now. Actually, I'm kind of curious. So for combat system, we start combat with specific info. What do we do with the music there? Definition. Oh, not audio clip. Start info music. Oh, okay, I do it on the scene transition. That's fair. Um, it's fine for now. Um, I was gonna like assign an audio clip there and have it actually start playing music, but it's fine for now. Let's see. I think we're good here. Yeah, so let's set up the next round of attacks. So we're gonna have our look at target clip, and so let's actually go ahead and add a track group. We'll call this characters. Let's drag this down here. Add another playable track. We're gonna add a attack section clip. This one is going to start 1.5 seconds after the start of the scene. And it'll last 5 seconds, so about that long. That's all fine. Let's shorten this by 1 frame, so 299, because we need to have it be 1 frame short. Because Unity is dumb sometimes. Let's see. Look at target clip should last the entire duration of that, of course. And we should have a. Wait, what is the director doing? Oh, right, that's the actual timeline. I forgot that's a self-reference thing, because I can't get that otherwise. We do want it to follow the target. Target is, of course, going to be the main camera. Where are you? And you're no fun. So let's go to cameras, main camera. I am 90% sure that's what I did with it. Cool. You know it's good when I'm forgetting how I set my own scene up. So for this, we're going to have. This would be our defense, wouldn't it? So that's fun. We're going to set up a completely different thing. It's not going to be an attack section clip. It's going to be a defensive section clip. Okay. So let's go ahead and select this. I'm going to go ahead and make a new folder. That's just as good of a thing for us to go to. We're going to say defense section. Okay. And let's go ahead and we're going to need to create a playable behavior. We're going to call that defense section. Ooh, I almost called it section behavior. Let's go ahead and open that up. And we're going to need a couple of things. This is going to be in the textquests.combat namespace. We only care about play and pause. We don't care about anything else. Actually, that's a lie. We do care about frame, because it's pretty much going to be the exact same thing. In fact, it's going to be so similar that I probably want to have these derive from a base class. Crap. No. Well, yeah. Yeah, okay. This is actually pretty different now that I think about it. So for defensive sections, section might be a bit of a misnomer. We might have in a single defensive cutscene multiple labels that you have to type in sequence, or multiple labels that you have to type in just all of them, basically. And in those cases, this is difficult to sort of think through. We're not really going to have Excuse me. Well, no, I mean, most of this information would all be there. Uh, oh, geez, am I even going to have... Ugh. I don't know if I want to have criteria for them or not in defensive mode, because I could have totally fake, like, have hazards that are not hazardous unless you type them to throw you off guard. That probably would actually be fine. Um, or have hazards that if you typed them do something not necessarily negative, but maybe that don't help you. Like I could see an enemy that throws a bunch of junk at you, and then like one of them's actually a healing item, and if you type that out, then you just lose that healing item. Um, but for now, I don't really want to rewrite all of this because it's essentially the same thing. They're essentially going to be doing the same thing, um, which means that I do want to have this derived from a base class, and I need to have some amount of overlap. Um, okay. On attack backspace. Yeah, it's all pretty much the same. I just need to have on attack complete be overridable, I think, because on attack begin and on attack backspace are mostly the same between them. So let's go ahead and we will have this derived from a base class. I guess before we do that, let's go ahead and create our asset script. So we'll say defense section clip. Oh dear, did I really spell it as defense? Not defense. Oh, I did. I spelled it as defense. Defense. There we go. Section clip. It's all fine. And before we do anything else, let's go ahead and create a folder. Call it attacks. And while that's happening, I'm going to take a drink. Ta-da! Alright, inside this is going to be a core folder. So this is going to be the base class that attack and defense sections derive from. So core. We will go ahead and call this a playable... Do I need... yeah, I guess I would need playable assets and playable behaviors for this. Because I don't think that just the clip is going to do what I want. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. The question is, what do I want to call these things? I probably can go ahead and move these guys. Oh, come on, from here into there. And let's see. So it's weird because I would kind of want to call my core class attack section, but that's clearly not correct. I mean, I guess I could call it. I could rename these as offense or offense section. It's a little awkward, but that would probably actually make the most sense because everything else is kind of shared between these. So, okay. Oof, that is so brutal though. I'm going to have to rename clips and behaviors on the fly, which is never going to be fun. So let's go ahead and rename these as offense section. And once that compiles, I will rename the actual scripts themselves. Which I guess I can just do right here. Okay, so I'm going to rename this to offense section clip. And then offense section behavior. Okay, get rid of you. Let both of yous compile. ping. Oh, it didn't. Haha! Now we will. Well, nuts to you, Unity. Thought for sure it was gonna get mad and ping me with my computer sound. But it did no such thing. Okay, so I'm also going to need to move attack section type back into core. Once this finishes compiling, and it's incredibly frustrating that it's not. There we go. Jeez. This is going to be fun. We might actually end up just creating the base classes and then having things extend that for offense section, and then we might call it a night because it's about 9 o'clock, and 2 hours on the stream is pretty exhausting for me. I'm not filled with streaming stamina. I'm not very good at doing long streams. Although I guess the longest one I've ever done was like 3 hours long, so we still have plenty of time. Okay. Once you actually finish compiling, I can start doing things again. All right, so we're going to go ahead and create playable behavior, C# script. We're going to call this attack section behavior. Go ahead and create playables, playable asset, attack section. Oh crap. No, it did that really annoying thing where it froze, which means that my name is going to be all kinds of weird. Attack section clip. All right. Open up both of these things. Open up the offense sections. Or at least I would want to, but it won't let me, so we're just going to do this. This is going to be an abstract class. It's not going to be one that can easily be used. Well, not that. It's just going to be one that is SOS playable behavior. And it needs to be in the correct namespace, obviously. Dot combat. Oh, and then I guess I'm going to want to say using sleepyowl.common. Okay. Let's open up all of this. Come on. All of you. All right. So same thing for our clip. I'm going to have this be in the textquest.combat namespace. That's pretty much all we care about. Let's go ahead and make this an abstract class again. And all right. So this is also going to be this is going to be interesting. I've never actually created playable assets that derive from playable assets beyond just like the base SOS playable asset. So the create playable is actually going to be different in our offense section behavior or offense section clip than what I would expect normally. So let's go ahead, just grab like all of this. Come over here to let's see, attack section clip. Place that in there. We're gonna make this attack section behavior. Okay. Why are you mad? Must be a non-abstract. Oh, right. That's interesting. Okay. Interesting. I guess that makes sense, actually. So I can't do that. All right, let's go ahead and get rid of this then. So I guess abstract, you can't really do inheritance very well between timeline clips. That's good to know. But I can, at the very least, mark these all as protected. Protected, 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 and protected. Okay, so let's see. We have the playable director that's playing the clip. That's all fine. We have the failure timeline. All of this is pretty much, I think, going to be universal. So let's go ahead, come over here, and we will make this derive not from playable asset, but from attack section clip. So all of these should now be made redundant. Let's get rid of this. And we are going to need to retain our create playable here. So that is the clip. Now we're going to need the actual contents for our behavior. Let's see, attack section behavior. I forget, are you an SOS behavior? You are, good. Paste this in. Do I have any problems here? I do need to do that. Okay, so we're going to say using system.collections.generic. Okay, that should handle that. Let's go ahead and have this derived from attack section behavior. And so here's where it's going to get fun. I don't think I need this at all. Don't need any of those. I do want to mark these as protected, not private. Same with all of this. We're going to save that out. Let's get rid of all of this. And on behavior play, I think for the most part, we can leave all of this in the base class. I'm going to strip out what I don't think I need. So on behavior pause. Text playable is greater than 0. Oh, actually, no. On behavior pause is purely going to be determined by the child classes. Because I don't, in a defensive section, I don't want to automatically skip to the next timeline. On behavior pause actually might be fine here now that I think about it. Crap. Maybe it will. Crap. No, hold on. I think I should probably change this up to say if actions of index dot true timeline does not equal null. Okay. What are we gonna do about this? Prepare frame. Again, all of that seems to be fine for a base class. The only thing that's different here is on attack complete. That probably should be protected abstract, I want to say. Let's go ahead and make that like that. And on attack begin, we can probably move this up to here and make these virtual and protected, I think. So protected, virtual, on attack began, virtual, attack backspace. Okay, so we're going to go ahead, go all the way down to here. We're going to make this protected. Oh, nope. Hold on. Get rid of you. I'm going to make this protected override. And get rid of you. We can get rid of prepare frame, I'm pretty sure. So let's go ahead and do that. And on behavior pause, I think we can get rid of for now. And on behavior play, we can also get rid of. So this is essentially the only difference. I think that's fine. Okay. So let's see what happens here. I'm curious. Compile. I'm wondering if this is gonna like rename itself. I doubt it. It's probably just gonna like break reference and then make things impossible to work with. Um, but you never know. We might get lucky. Cool. Seems to have kept all of its references. That's exciting. Let's make sure that it has the right prefab too. All right. Although funny enough, this is the left thing, so we're actually going to get rid of you because we don't need you. Although I'll actually probably keep you in there, and I'll just mute you because I want to keep your size references. Okay. I think that's probably a pretty good place for the day. I'm going to go ahead and say rename this as to offense section clip. So we have, as a quick rundown, we have combat starting up. We get the declaration of attack. We get shown the combat menu. From there, you can select an action, and then it will play out the timeline. It will show attacks that are valid versus attacks that are not. Let's go ahead and hit battle here. Okay, so we get our fade in. We get our left one. So left would be hazardous, right would not. If we picked left, obviously we don't have hazards actually working yet, but we at least can show that they're supposed to be hazardous. And then from here, we can transition to our next stage of attack, which will actually be defense. So that's going to be, I think, a good place to leave off for the night. We're in a good spot to work on defense sections, so having the enemy attack you with potentially multiple attacks or multiple sequenced attacks. Basically, any real number there, we got to be able to support both. But yeah, we're getting pretty far along now with combat. I think we're at the 30%, maybe 40% mark for the refactor. And once we get through defense and offense, well, offense is pretty much done. Once we get through defensive sections, then we should pretty much just be onto the last legs, which will be supporting multiple attacks and multiple defenses at the same time, and just having the combat loop until it's done. So we're getting pretty far along in this refactor, and it's coming along pretty well. I like it so far. I'm looking forward to having the system all in place, and then us being able to just have super crazy combat scenes. It's going to be so much fun to make those things. Okay, so as always, I want to thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you all next time.